don't need a high-end designer or a lot of money to get a luxe look. Be your own interior designer.
This is Affordable Interior Design, the podcast.
Here's your host, Betsy Helmuth.
Let's go to our next note, which comes from Charlie. And Charlie writes from Indianapolis. Hi, Betsy. I'm going to keep it quick. I'm a huge fan of your show. I want to thank you for all the advice you've provided through your podcast. I've designed both a vintage apartment and my first house, which is a 1940s bungalow, and all of it was done following your guidance. Now, here's my question. Do you have any couch covers you can recommend? I have a cheapo couch that I purchased with the intention of keeping it only a couple years. 3 years later, it is now pet damaged and it's showing its age. With the supply chain issues and not being sure how long we're going to stay in our current home, I am keeping it for longer than I'd like to. But I will be replacing it within hopefully the next few years when we move to our forever home. Throw pillows and artfully draped blankets just don't adequately cover all the cat scratches. So while we're stuck with this less than ideal couch, I've gotten the okay from my wife to find a leopard print couch cover if I can. Whoa. The style of our living room is sophisticated luxe maximalist. We love loud patterns. I know you don't love printed furniture, so I am ready for a Betsy Smackdown. But any advice or guidance would be so appreciated. Do nice couch covers even exist? Should I get a nice blanket to tuck into the cushions instead of a stretchy cover? Help! Sincerely, Charlie. Charlie, I'm just going to keep it real right now. You do need help. For any of my listeners that have the ability to hop over to YouTube, you are going to want to see Charlie's home because Charlie is definitely a maximalist. Looking at his home, there's lots of draping ivory. I think I can see a palm in the corner. There's a heavily printed rug, a cow printed pillow, a gallery wall that's got an eclectic mix of both pictures and kind of embroidery and frames, a kidney-shaped coffee table, an emerald green wingback, a Tiffany-style lamp, and thick teal drapes. In addition, there is a floor lamp in the corner, and of course, it doesn't just have one shade, it has 3 shades because Charlie is a maximalist. Charlie... There's also, I forgot to mention the plaid ottoman in the corner. You've got a lot of look going on. And I really appreciate when people tell me that they listen to the podcast. That warms my heart and adds to our downloads. I'm so grateful. But what I like even better, Charlie, than people who listen to every show is people to deeply listen to a few shows and then take the advice to heart. Because I knew right from your email, before even opening the pictures, that you were on a tough path with lush maximalist. I guess you wanted to feel lush and be maximal. Okay, well, my problem is not with the word lush or the maximal nature of your style, but more with sophisticated. Because it's like sophisticated and maximalist are not jiving with what's going on here. I love patterns, you know I do, but remember they have to be of a different scale. And right now there's a few big patterns. I don't know, Charlie, we got to get focused. I can't find your inspiration piece. I can't find your pattern scale. Sometimes when there's stuff all over, there's one element missing, right? If you've read my book, there's a checklist that says, do you have this? Do you have this as you're finishing your room? The thing that your room is missing, Charlie, is good chi. That empty space or empty spaces, ideally, just a few pockets where there's nothing going on. One wall where there's no art. One nook where there's no plant. For your eye to rest and settle, where your good energy can spin and live because there's nothing else cluttering the space. I think, like Chanel said, right? You put on your jewelry and then you take off 1 or 2 pieces. Obviously, you can tell I'm not a Chanel devotee, right? Style is not my forte in terms of clothing, but I think we need to critically look at this room and remove a few pieces because it's a little overwhelming. That being said, I totally get it. I'm also in limbo, Charlie. I'm not yet in my forever home, but I don't want to invest in my current home because I know we're moving and those items may not fit. That being said, a standard sofa almost always fits in every home. So if you're looking to buy a new piece, just make sure that the sofa is between 75 inches long and 85 inches long. And whether you move to a home with a small living room or a home with a larger living room that you can just augment with chairs, it will almost certainly work. If you know that the next space you're moving to is going to be a home with a large living room, if you already have a sense based on your sort of punch list or deal breakers, then you could even skew for like an 85 to 95 inch sofa. And if you did want it to have a chaise, just make sure that the chaise is reversible, and that gives you a lot of flexibility. Because to answer your question, there is absolutely no such thing on the market right now as a good slip cover for your sofa. And I can certainly tell you that there is no such thing as a good slip cover that's in a leopard print for your sofa. The leopard print with the cow print, Charlie, is going to push me over the edge. It just is. Unless your next move is like to an exotic animal farmhouse, and then maybe we can talk, right? Charlie exotic. Is that the next move? But I do think that maybe strategically tucking a blanket could be a good idea. The problem with strategically tucking a blanket, and the problem with slip covers as well, is that they get schlumpy frumpy. So when the dog or cat jumps on the sofa, when you sit on the sofa, it's going to look ill-fitting and you're going to have to fix it every time. And perhaps it's going to look even worse than the cat scratches right now. So I would suggest maybe just investing in that sofa that meets the size requirements. And then you can try a pheromone spray. Have you tried that yet, Charlie? Pheromone sprays you can easily buy on Amazon or any pet store. They're supposed to deter pets from scratching or from being attracted to that furniture. I sprayed it on all my furniture, and my cat's pretty well behaved. So that's good because she's actually very naughty in other ways. She's a biter. She's a biter. But try the spray, but just make sure that you try it on the underneath first, a spot where you can't see, so you can make sure that it doesn't harm the fabric before you spray the entire piece. But there's a few suggestions for you, Charlie, and a few guardrails as you're considering your next move with the most important piece in your room, the sofa. A big thank you to Aton and the Embassy who wrote our theme song. A shout out to Catherine Heller who owns the podcast shop and is our editor extraordinaire. We also want to thank Ginny Sunasan and her team at the Savvy Podcast Agency for their help with our social, our YouTube channel, and so much more. We also want to thank Uploft, which is our parent company who supports this podcast. And lastly, we owe a huge debt of gratitude to you. Thank you so much for tuning in and for all your support.